It seems that in spite of GW's best efforts, there has been a somewhat unfortunate leak today with the long-rumoured, long-awaited new edition of Heresy 3.0 getting leaked, or at the very least, the new starter box for the edition seemingly being leaked online. And despite GW doing some initial hype for this over the course of the last few days and maybe week on their HORUS Heresy updates, it did seem that GW had quite a good hold on keeping a big chunk of the news about this under wraps, with a plan to do a full reveal in a couple of weeks' time. So personally, I do think it is a bit of a genuine shame that this leak has happened, because I think GW were really kind of like pulling out a lot of stops and doing this HORUS Heresy updates to get people really excited, and this has dampened it somewhat. But I do still think it is a very, very exciting thing to see, and I still think there is going to be a lot of hype and a lot of excitement for seeing the full reveal when it is shown off, especially if this thing is legit. Now, I know some people won't want to go into too much detail, like the bigger leak of the previous edition, Heresy 2.0, where we got that very blurry picture of the Imperial Fists and the Sons of Horus a good 6 months, if not more, before it was actually revealed. So I know some people won't really want to get involved in this side of things and will just want to wait for the official reveal. I completely get that, but I do want to cover it just because I'm personally really, really excited about it. It is going to be everywhere if you go onto Reddit or YouTube or anywhere around, and I know that some people will want to talk about it, so I am going to cover it here, but this won't be a super long video. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail about theorying or anything like that. But as you can see on your screen, we do have what looks to be the reveal of the brand new box set for HORUS Heresy 3.0, and this one is called Age of Darkness Saturnine. Now from the box, you can see it on your screen now, as I said, but there is an image. This one is from Reddit. It has been somewhat cleaned up and sharpened a little bit so we can see things a bit more clearly. But as you can see, there is a huge swathe of brand new models. There is 50 in the box in total, and most impressively amongst them are some updated versions or some new versions that we've never seen before of some of the coolest and oldest designs that GW have ever put out, which is those massive shouldered Terminators, which are known as the Saturnine pattern. And you can see on your screen now some of those old original Terminator designs and patterns with that same style of massive shoulder pad. It was always, in my opinion, this cool classic design that really sold 40k to me when I first got into the hobby way back in 2nd edition. And this does look to be a really stunning, I want to say faithful, even though it does look drastically different, but I think the kind of the base theory and idea behind it has very much been brought forward into these new models. They do just look, in my opinion, absolutely amazing. They've also introduced a brand new Dreadnought design. I don't think we've ever really heard in the lore talk about this pattern before, but they have introduced the Saturnine pattern Dreadnought as well. We know the Castaferum and the Contemptor and all that kind of stuff, but I don't think the Saturnine has ever had much, if anything, in terms of lore. So this is really quite brand new, and it does look to be very much inspired in the same way as the Terminator armor, but in terms of the actual model design, looks to be something of a mix between the Marines Leviathan and the Custodes Telemon in terms of how it looks to me, and I imagine it will probably be around that same sort of Leviathan Telemon size when you look at it compared to things like the Saturnine Terminators and the regular Marines. As I said, in the box you get 50 models. 40 of those models are brand new Marines. They are all kitted out in Mark II tactical armor, which is a very welcome thing for a lot of Heresy fans. I know that people have been clamoring for Mark II for absolutely ages, and some people just really, really love it. I do think it looks fantastic, so I'm really excited to see those models in a lot more detail than what we can see just on that blurry image. Apart from that though, you also get 6 of the Saturnine Terminators. They look to come in units of 3, so very much GW going into that unit of 3 rather than units of 5, like they've been doing in 40k a lot more now. It does look like they are bringing that over, at least in some capacity, to HORUS Heresy. And then we also get a Praetor in Terminator armor, a Saturnine Dreadnought, as I mentioned, a regular HQ that looks like it could possibly be something like a Centurion in Mark II power armor. And then another newish unit is this pretty hefty looking weapon battery. And from the back of the box, from what we can read on the blurry writing, looks to be a quad autocannon turret. So it is a lot of stuff. It really is a full-sized army just in the box, and I do think that, like the original Age of Darkness box, this box is probably going to be quite pricey compared to other starter boxes that we know from like AOS or 40k, but I do think it's going to be exceptionally good value, and if you are picking it up, you will almost certainly be able to get a full army to build and play with right out of one box. And whilst I don't think it's going to be quite as good value as the original 2nd edition Age of Darkness box, which I think got you, was it 2,000 points or 3,000? I can't remember, because I know there was the Spartan in there that came, like, build up a lot of the points value in it. But this box, just using very rough prices from what we know of current Heresy, you're looking at about 400 points for 40 Marines. It's spread across 4 10-man squads. At least 135 if we go by a current Terminator Praetor, around 120 or so for the regular Praetor, 270 if not more if we use the Leviathan Dreadnought as a baseline for the Saturnine Dreadnought, and then probably in the 220 if not more region for the Saturnine Terminators. Again, if you look at things like the Cataphracti Terminators, which are I think 175 points for 5, 6 of these Saturnine Terminators are easily going to be over 200 points, I think. And then even if you lowball the autocannon turret and say maybe 50 or 60 points, again looking to something like the rapier weapon batteries, I think even massively lowballing, in my opinion, everything in this box will still be getting you around 1,500 points worth of models, I think. So as I said, straight out of the box, if you get this, you can get pretty much an entire army to build and play with. In terms of the new designs themselves, I do really love them. As I mentioned, I've always been a big fan of Mark II power armor, and a lot of Heresy players do utterly love it as well and have been clamoring for it for the longest time. I also personally really love the Saturnine pattern armor. I know it's very hit and miss and some people really don't like it, but I've always been a fan. I've always really enjoyed seeing those massive chunky shoulder pads. I will admit, it is very unwieldy and I can't imagine how you could fight in melee with it, but from the back of the box, it does look as though you are going to have some options in this box. There do seem to be some of the Terminators that have melee weapons, but the most sort of clear one that we have on the back of the box does look to have sort of 2 plasma guns in either arm, so it looks like you will be able to kit them out to be either sort of very melee focused or very shooty focused, and if you don't like this sort of idea of them wielding their big kind of shoulder padded arms in melee, you could just kit them out to be sort of this fire support piece, I think. Again, I think the Dreadnought looks incredible. It does actually look a lot better with those bigger shoulder pads because it sort of fits the chunkier design a lot better. But again, that looks to have a very much fire support option for it. It's got a massive sort of plasma gun in one arm, and then I don't know what the weapons are because I don't know Heresy that well, but some big double-barreled gun on the other arm, and then some chest-mounted weapons like the Leviathan does. I don't know if this will have any options for melee weapons, but I would imagine it probably will. This is, of course, also a full starter set, so you are getting things like the rule book as well as some measuring tools, the blast templates and the flamer templates, so it is a really good box to pick up if you are brand new to the Heresy, want an army to get going, and want everything you need to get started with some games. Equally, if you are already a Heresy player and you've got an army, I still think this box is probably going to be a must get, especially if you love any of the models in it, because it is just a full range of 50 brand new models to add to your collection. So there is a lot of hype here, but I will say before we move any further, there is of course talk that this could be a fake. Is this legit, or is it just a very well done put together Photoshop? And I am of the opinion that it is legit, and GW have, in my opinion, also kind of admitted that with some updates they've done to their HORUS hearsay pages. They've added some comments which you can see on your screen now, and they, to me, give a bit of a tongue-in-cheek admission that this is real, and I personally think that's really good of GW. They could have flat out ignored the leaks and just not touched them or commented on them at all, which is actually what they did when the leaks came out for the HORUS Heresy 2.0. They just sat on it for months and months and months, and I get why they did that, but I'm kind of glad that they decided to go into this one and just lean into it and have a bit of fun with it. Hopefully it will mean that they will still do those HORUS Heresy updates and just make them a bit more playful and fun to keep that hype going and keep building people's excitement, even if it has been admittedly lessened somewhat just because of what we've seen today. The final big thing to talk about is also GW put up a very cryptic countdown timer on Warhammer Community this morning, and it has got a bit of blurb about Istvan 5 and also mentions a 399-hour countdown timer until planetfall. And this, I'm pretty sure, is a timer to when we will see the official unveiling of this box, as well as hopefully, in my opinion, a brand new cinematic trailer for the new edition of Heresy. And 399 hours puts it at just over 16 days away, which from today, which is a Tuesday, means Thursday the 29th of May is when the timer will end, and that is when I think we will see this box sort of in all its official glory, as well as hopefully see that new cinematic trailer. And that does also time in with being on a Thursday, so it would fit in very well with a Heresy Thursday reveal. So I think that is fairly likely to be what that countdown timer is in relation to, and I think hopefully that will allow people to kind of keep building that hype over the next couple of weeks and not get too sort of bored or kind of bogged down with this initial reveal and kind of lose some of that momentum. It does, I think, put the reveal a bit past when people originally guessed it was going to be, which I think was the week before. But still, it is really good because it leaves us a couple of weeks to look forward, build some more hype, discuss, and potentially theory craft about what else we might see in this new edition of Heresy. So that's going to be it for this video. I'd love to know what you think of this leak. Do you think it is legit or just a really good Photoshop? And if it is legit, what do you make of the models? What do you make of the brand new Mark II power armor, as well as those Saturnine Terminators and the new Saturnine Dreadnought? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me, but until next time, I'll catch you later, guys.